there are two very valuable tailwinds that we have as a country, which perhaps makes it very strong proposition for us to get on to one MVP that you are talking about, Madhavan. One is we're in a context where almost 100 countries are having the challenge of flat or declining population already, which means that 1 out of 4 talents that are going to go to work is going to come from India. That's a massive suction pumps for Indian talent, which is a very important starting point to my mind. Number two is the price performance equation disruption that India has done with analogies of Aadhaar and UPI is quite unprecedented. And I would take it as a very important starting point. And DigiLocker, in that view, is not in my head the same as Aadhaar or UPI for very obvious reasons that all of us know. Now, my own hypothesis, having been in education for 3 decades, has been that assessment which is portable and is relevant to a school uh, context or college or an employer can become that MVP that you're talking about. That has been my hypothesis. And the assessments today can be domain agnostic, subject agnostic, or it can be the context from where a child is coming can be a hygiene, but that he or she is going to work in the 21st century, and the 21st century skills are very clearly articulated as the 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And all of us, as people who are running organizations, we know those are all equally relevant, whether it's for an architect or a communication designer or an engineer or a teacher. All these 4 are very important. So our MVP has been, as Prashant was saying, is to build something by keeping the 4 C's as the first MVP for the child's transition, students' transition from school, high school to college, which means colleges recognize that along with your performance in your subjects, I'm going to look at something like this. And then that stays on, and the employers say that, okay, you're coming from physics, so you're coming from architecture or engineering or humanities, but I will still look at the 4 C's as a acceptance tool, and we are using that to create what we think is a possibility as the longitudinal talent observatory that India can present to the world. And I'll close it by giving 2 very interesting examples. How this is, while it is a opportunity to lead for us, for most countries, the prism through which they're looking at this problem is actually quite disabling for them. If they don't get Indian talent, how jeopardizing it's going to be. I was having a conversation with the Australian embassy and the ministries recently. And all of you might be aware that 1/3 of Australia's GDP growth comes from international education revenues that they get. 31% of GDP growth is contributed by international students. India sent 180,000 students last year to Australia. So we need scale and quality. It's not either scale or quality. And we were having a discussion with the Sri Lankan Prime Minister's office. If we transform NCR, if that is the scale that India can do, you're transforming the entire country of Sri Lanka. So if there is one country which has the experience of decade and a half in DPI and DPG, like you rightly mentioned, most universities can quickly raise themselves up to bring their DPGs into the DPI framework. But my belief is that there are enough MVPs that are being tried out by all kinds of players, not just government, but NGOs, Step, like kind of an organization. We've been at it now for some time. I think we are at a very, very interesting stage where the ecosystem can kind of burst itself open through 1 or 2 successful MVPs.